Wasting no time, I cut out my full circle skirt pattern with my desired length. I believe I did like 18 inches. I then started off by drawing the pinkish red diamond. I drew that first so that I can then draw in every other line, which is about an inch apart, which basically represented by the green lines. And I drew that all the way from the hem up to the waist. After drawing all of my lines, which took about 19 hours is what it felt like, really, I went ahead and pinned everywhere. Okay, I did not want this thing to move. I wanted it to be stuck. I wanted it to, you see my edges, it don't move. That's how I wanted it to be. I wanted to be attached to this thing, okay, like a symbiote. I wanted it to be like Venom and Eddie Brock, okay.
Awkward.
Running that through my machine, just tracing all the lines, which also is gonna take another 19 hours. I'm just letting you know this project is lengthy, okay? You're gonna be tracing those lines and you're gonna be tired. You're gonna be so tired. You're gonna want to retire, but you can't. Today is the last day I am working on this. I feel like I've been working on this for 3 weeks now, which it has been spread out over 3 weeks, but collectively I've been working on it for about a week. It just has to get done today. Today is the last day. Like, I don't even want to look at it anymore. I don't want to. I just don't want to look at it. So let's get finished with the skirt so that we can finish, shoot the review, and I can put this away and work on another project because I'm so like tired of it. I just cut the canvas. I'm just cutting off the excess batting that is at the hem and any that's at the waist. So trying on this skirt, I realized that it was so big at the waist and it was way too long at the hem, so I did end up cutting like 4 inches off from the waist and probably like also maybe 4 inches, maybe even 6 inches from the hem, because it was just way too big and floppy. It looked like a sun hat on my waist. Once you're satisfied with how your skirt looks, if it's tight enough on the waist and you like the skirt length, we're just going to go ahead and prep our invisible zipper and our zipper placket as well, ironing everything, pinning everything in place so we know where to sew up to. I'm just showing you here that I tried my best to match up those seams, and it did match up at the bottom, but for some reason it wasn't matching up at the top, so I just had to ignore it. I just went ahead and pinned my zipper in place and hand stitched it. I hand stitched it first before moving on to the sewing machine. Hand stitch my zipper in place first because it's easier and I know it won't move around once I transport it to the machine. I'm going to show you a little clip of where you should be stitching. I just had to put a short clip of me hand stitching because it's such a therapeutic moment for me when I just have time to just listen to classical music or some form of fall Hogwarts ambiance on YouTube and just sew. I laid my lining down on top of my self fabric so I know where I need to sew up to with a 1-inch seam allowance, making sure that I'm not sewing past that zipper head. Matching up the center back seam of the lining to the center back seam of the self fabric, we're just going to pin all the way around the hemline, pinning both the lining and the self fabric together. This was stitched together with 1/2 inch. I did have an issue with the lining showing under the hem. It did like roll over, so instead of doing what I did, which is move all the seam allowance to the lining and then top stitch it to the lining, I would rather you move all the seam allowance to the self fabric, also the lining as well, and just top stitching it at the bottom of the self fabric hem, so you're catching the seam allowance and the lining at the same time. Make sure you trim off your excess so your seams are not bulky. To encase the zipper tape, we're going to fold over the center back seam allowance, which should be 1 inch, and then you're going to pin everything in place. You're not covering the teeth, just the strip that the teeth is on. We're going to pin that in place and blind stitch that close. To ensure that nothing moves when it's time to attach the waistband, we're just going to stitch together the lining waist to the self fabric waist. Measuring out the waist of my skirt, I did add 2 extra inches for my waistband just to have that inch at that 1/2 inch seam allowance for both sides, but I also wanted an inch overlap for my button because my zipper doesn't go all the way up to the waistband. So after everything has been attached and both of the ends have been closed off, it's just time for me to do my favorite thing in the world, which is hand stitching. Just going to blind stitch the inside of the waistband closed. Moving on to the leg warmer chap boot cover things that I have. I laid out a leg warmer that I already have and added like a 4-inch circumference because the fabric that I have does not stretch, but the leg warmer I do have does. Using that same pattern I made on the self fabric, I cut it out on the lining and I also cut it out on the batting. And I only did 1 layer for each leg, and I believe I only did a singular layer for the skirt, but I did double layer for the corset. To keep everything cohesive and tie into that triangular or diamond shape quilting lines that I was going for, I just made sure that each of the leg warmers had alternating lines that were going basically diagonally across them. And for the leg warmers, I didn't pin anything. I just made sure that the perimeter of everything was clipped together. This took a little minute as well, but it definitely didn't take as long as the corset, and it certainly didn't take as long as the skirt. I did not have bias tape, but I did have ribbon, and I just folded the ribbon as I was sewing, and I stitched with I believe a zigzag stitch to attach the ribbon to the entire perimeter of each leg warmer. To also tie in the leg warmers with the corset, I used the same trim that I use on the top area or the bosom area of the corset, and I just stitched that down with a zigzag stitch around the entire perimeter except for where the ankle part of the chaps is. I did not add the trim there.
But they kind of look like cowboy boots.
So what you saw in that clip is I was trying to see how tight I wanted the chaps, or how loose or how high I wanted the fold over to be, and I basically just rolled my calf in it like a burrito, and I pinned everything into place, and once I liked how it looked, I just sewed it. And this took a little while, but you know me, I love me a little hand sewing session. Alas, the ending is near, it is here, and you can finally see the end product.